About the author. I began my natural healing journey as a young child. Prior to 1999, I had never heard of Reiki and had only seen hands-on healing on TV and Star Trek. A couple of traumatic experiences with animals at the age of 4 triggered a strong desire in me to help all animals. The indigenous Indians of America have shared that when a child is given such an experience at a young age, it seals their fate in the care and healing of animals for life, and this has certainly proved to be true. I witnessed several miracles of healing throughout my life before finding Reiki, sadly, growing up in 70s and 80s in Manchester, being any kind of supernatural held negative connotations, and I was mocked for my unusual ways with animals. In 1991, whilst living with my stepfather terminally ill with cancer, I had used all I knew to help him heal: the right foods, energy, prayer, visualization and care. He lived twice as long as we were told he would, but departed, as was his path, in December 1991. This destroyed me because at the time I had felt it was my responsibility to keep him alive, and I had failed. I learned eventually that we must always recognize the bigger picture, and never take responsibility for another's healing. Their path is theirs alone. I did continue using hands-on healing during the 90s on several injuries, with great results, but in the main I had lost my mojo and self-belief in the depression that followed the death. In 1999 my son was born by emergency cesarean section, and we lost him on 2 occasions. Doctors managed to bring him back, but the second time he was gone for so long, we were informed that it was unlikely he would survive more than a few days, and if he did survive, the damage to his brain would be so severe that he would never walk or talk. He was put on an ECMO machine. Extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. The surface of his lungs had been burned by meconium aspiration, and thus he was unable to breathe. The incredible ECMO machine took blood, via a tube, from his neck, oxygenated it, and returned into his body, which lay flat and lifeless. To help this process, the blood must be thinned to allow proper flow. A shadow appeared on the scans of his chest and the doctors decided they needed to operate. However, on the blood thinners this was not possible. We were told to prepare for the worst, as the mass they saw would probably kill my son, and the operation was too risky. That same day, my sister came to the hospital and told me of a friend whose mum did Reiki. She said they worked together out of a church and could do distance healing using a photograph of my son. Of course there was no hesitation. I already knew of the power of natural healing, and we had nothing to lose. A photo was given to the ladies at the church, and they proceeded to send distance healing over 3 consecutive days. We were in Leicester, and the Reiki practitioners were in Manchester. On the 3rd day the surgeon came to see us. Existing in negative expectation from the original prognosis, we expected to hear the worst. However, the surgeon told us that the mass had suddenly disappeared. His words were, "We don't know how or why, but it is a miracle." From then on, my son began to improve. He survived 9 days on ECMO, which was the longest a baby had received ECMO for and survived to date, which was another miracle. After 5 weeks in hospital, we were able to take him home, where he remained on oxygen for another 10 weeks. We were, however, reminded not to expect my son to ever walk or talk, due to the extent of the damage to the brain, from the prolonged time he had been starved of oxygen. There is so much more to this story, but the fact is that my son did survive. He does walk and talk, and he continued to shock the doctors at every milestone. There are some complex difficulties, but brain scans showed that the damage had somehow bypassed the basal ganglia, and instead affected the frontal and temporal lobes. This was also described as a miracle by the doctors. I became very poorly myself shortly after my son's birth, no doubt through extensive, traumatic experiences during childhood, triggered by the shock of my son's difficult birth and the conditions surrounding the event. I was hospitalized for 10 days with viral meningitis, which left me with the debilitating conditions of myalgic encephalomyelitis. After leaving the hospital, I began a spiritual ascension program online with a small group of people from all over the world, in a bid to heal myself and help my son. Reiki popped up a lot in the conversations, so I began to investigate and study it from resources I could find online. I lived and breathed anything to do with healing, including food, supplements, heart-based therapies, trauma release, mind reprogramming, meditation and hypnotherapy. In 2002 I chanced upon the now world-renowned Reiki master Ethel Kilroy, who was teaching out of her house, just 2 miles from where I lived. As soon as I started the course, I knew it had all been meant to be. I continued to study and practice Reiki and other rays of natural healing, tirelessly, achieving my Level 3 Master/Teacher qualification in 2007. I have continued to study natural healing since. I qualified as an holistic hypnotherapist in 2005 and moved on to become a teacher of meditation and mindfulness. I now teach meditation, mindfulness and self-healing techniques to teenagers at a secondary school. Over the years I have also studied and gained certificates in Reiki for animals, animal communication, equine psychology and much more. I have also developed a very effective method for trauma healing, from holistic hypnotherapy, and many other learned techniques, which I have named holistic well-being therapy. I share from my extensive knowledge and experience through the in-person and online training, to ensure students are fully equipped and confident to self-heal and to offer healing with a greater understanding of the human condition, and our innate ability to heal. It is a great honor for me to be able to share my work with students through CPD accredited courses. I wish you all the best on your journey. Prerequisites for students wishing to study Reiki Level 2. 1. First training course in Reiki, including all 4 attunements from at least one properly trained Reiki master. 2. Self-healing for at least 21 days following completion of the first training. 3. 6 months practice on self and family/friends. 4. If you have trained with another Reiki training provider, you will be required to answer some questions from our Reiki 1 training, to ensure you are at the right level to embark on this CPD accredited Reiki 2 training. Training. During the training you will 1. Enhance your healing ability and gain more confidence in your practice. 2. Receive 4 Reiki second degree attunements. 3. Learn the Reiki symbols for use in everyday practice and practice with your tutor until you feel confident to use them in your practice. 4. Heighten spiritual awareness and accelerate spiritual growth. 5. Deepen knowledge of Reiki hands-on healing. 6. Practice using Reiki in person on volunteers as well as practice of distance healing until you feel comfortable to perform full treatments alone. 7. Receive Reiki treatments from other practitioners. 8. You will also receive Reiki treatments as part of the training, which allows you to get a feel of what is comfortable for the receiver. We recommend that you receive as much Reiki as you give, as this is the best way to learn what feels good and what doesn't. You will be given every opportunity to learn from mistakes with the gentle guidance from your tutor. You will learn that everyone is different, and whereas music can be a wonderful addition to a treatment, it will not suit everybody. Always ask prior to a treatment if the healer would like music or prefer to receive Reiki in silence. Also be mindful of hearing abilities, which vary widely. Some people need music a little louder, whereas sensitive people may like it very quiet. Discuss types of music best suited to Reiki treatments with your tutor and fellow students. Again, people differ in their likes and dislikes, so it is good practice to have a variety of styles of music. However, gentle and calm music is always the best. We aim to create a full healing experience. As with Reiki 1, hands-on training will be completed over 2 days to allow assimilation time between the attunements. At the end of the training days, you will be expected to be fluent in drawing each of the symbols. Cho Ku Rei, the power symbol. Sei Hei Ki, the emotional healer. Hun Shei Zai Shou Nen, the distance symbol. And to understand their meanings, and how and when to use them. During the Reiki 2 training, you will be taught some techniques to develop your intuition, using meditation and mindfulness. Time will be spent tuning into a partner to both send and receive a symbol. This will help you to become accustomed to using your non-physical senses, predominantly clairvoyance. Whilst we do not need to be clairvoyant to share healing energy, if we can better develop our inner sight, we can be much more aware of the intentions and needs of others. Your competence and knowledge will be assessed in person during the training days. We look forward to assisting you with your learning.